feet are important and dynamic. It starts from down here on up. It's not located in a region. Pain ends up here.
You might be coming in with back pain, but is it really in your back, or is it how your feet are organized? We came into this world, we're crawling, then shoes are put on us. Then we're losing our innate ability to adapt. It's not how we were designed. The reason why we have a lot of bones in our feet is to be able to take on uneven ground.
Nikki, Liz, thank you so much for joining us, or thank you for having us at your space here in Boulder, Colorado. Ali and I, first of all, I just want to say I'm very grateful that you found Movemate and you purchased it and made it part of your routine and your clinic setup and using it with clients and patients. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. We're really curious to learn about today. I'll start with how you both got into this space. I think a lot of people who are going to be listening or watching this are likely not going to have heard about rolfing or any of the other things that you teach, and it's going to be a great first entry point for them. And hopefully they go from there to learn more about it and find teachers, practitioners nearby that they can contact. So it'd be good to learn about your story, learn about what rolfing is all about, and then go into some of your perspectives on things related to musculoskeletal health and well-being, and then we'll talk about your experience with Movemate at the end. But maybe we'll start with Nikki. So tell us a little bit about what your background is and how did you get into this space?
I think it's just kind of innately what I am meant to be, because I did come in this path in a very indirect way. I think the best way to explain how I got into rolfing, structural integration, and movement, it was a way for me to get into rehabilitative health without having to go back to school. And so I didn't really discover this work until I was in college and I was almost done. And I think a big eye-opener for me was I have a brother who became quadriplegic, and I learned about occupational therapy through his recovery or rehab of his injury. I had gotten rolfed in college because I have scoliosis and I was starting to discover back pain. So I went and received some sessions and I was like, wow, that was helpful. It's touching into the body in places that we somehow forget about in this modern life and get reawakening of our innate movement and how we should be moving. And so yeah, I ended up going to school for rolfing, again, thinking I was just gonna do this for a little bit and then I would go back to school. I started my practice in Aspen. It turned out to be a really great practice. I moved to New York, had another successful practice, and it really is just recently that I decided that probably not gonna be going back to school. Now being a mom of 2 kids, it's just, and I love the freedom. So with that being said, freedom means that because we're not held to the constraints of health insurance, we have a little bit more freedom on how we want to work with the body, and that we are not, our treatments aren't dictated on what insurance is gonna pay for.
I see.
And so I really held on to that. While we have techniques and ideas and education, ultimately, we're really good listeners to the body, and the body is going to guide us in where we need to go. And that's what brings me joy to the work, and just staying in this very present moment of being a good listener and a guide and helping the client orient to health, and that ultimately they have ownership in this innate wisdom that we all have. It's just sometimes it goes a little sleepy and we need help to reawaken that.
So that's a very interesting story because there's multiple dimensions. You had your own back pain or scoliosis. My mom has scoliosis, so I should probably get some tips from you on what worked. And then you did some rolfing for that purpose. And then of course there was also some structural benefits of just going down this path. And then with your brother and his situation. So it sounds like there's multiple angles that led you to this point. With when you were doing rolfing back in the day, how helpful was that? Was it really impactful and to the extent that you were like, this is super interesting, I want to really dive into it, or was it
How long do you want this conversation to be? Yes, I will say yes, because it planted a seed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will I say, was that my initial, like, did I get rolfed? And some people have this. This is not my story. When I got rolfed, it wasn't like this big aha, like, oh, I really want to do this.
Right.
My body felt good. I should also mention, I've always been a mover, not necessarily in the sense that you would think of being like I was in sports, I was active, but I was doing Pilates and yoga before it was like really mainstream. I walked by a cool little studio and that's what I'm attracted to. Hence like my yoga wall behind
that you
me.
could see in the back.
A lot of my stuff. So that's just kind of what I'm attracted to, and it's movement that really brings in our primal sense in this innate way of being. And while I do think like a program design and sets and reps, those have great applications and things that we do need for development in our body, there's also the other end of the spectrum of more what we would call somatic movement. And so I think a blend of having youth, being young, having rolfing and receiving that work, and just being a young mover, that's how I felt good.
Gotcha. And Liz, what was your journey like? How did you get into this space?
I'm a good contrast because it's completely almost opposite in certain ways. So I came out to Boulder in 1989.
Okay.
And I pretty much have lived in cities, except for a brief stint in New Jersey. But New York, Boston, San Francisco, and then the earthquake happened in San Francisco in '89. Mm-hmm. So I came out here right after that earthquake with IBM. And I'd been working for IBM, and I was in my 20s. And I got here, and I did not fit into the culture of IBM. Now, I didn't even actually know I had a body. I was all up here. Mm-hmm. And I was in management at IBM, and I liked it, but I didn't fit here. And I found that I was deeply unhappy at IBM. And so I lived up in the mountains, and I talked to a neighbor, and they said, oh, you're really unhappy. I was also unhappy in my relationship. I was unhappy in my family. I come from a highly academic family, Ivy League family, and I feel things. I didn't have that. I have learning disabilities, and so I was trying to find my way, and I had a good memory, good photographic memory, so I could fit in at IBM. But I was so unhappy, and this neighbor said to me, oh, you ought to go get rolfed. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
And I had never had a massage.
Okay.
Ever.
Really?
And I was not a mover. I mean, I swam, but I had a childhood of having a lot of earaches and sinus problems and a lot of surgeries and tuberculosis. And so my path was, my parents basically wanted me to be a secretary. That was their vision. And so that's not a good upbringing. Mm-hmm. So I came out here, and this neighbor just said, try rolfing, and here's the name of someone. So I called this woman up, a woman who's passed on at this point. She was from Italy. And she said, oh, well, if you're coming for a knee pain, I'm the wrong person. And I was like, I don't know. This guy Bob told me to call you. And at that point, my health insurance paid for it. Okay. Which doesn't happen anymore. So I went through the 10 series, and you have to stand up and have somebody look at your structure and watch you move. And the first session, I had a really incredible experience of being touched in a way that I had never experienced. By my third session, my body, I started to realize I had a body. And I was breathing, and I was feeling things, and I had a very big psychological experience that I remember calling up my mom and asking her, because we had a broken relationship, and I said, do you want a relationship with me? And so rolfing gave me courage. And it gave me this ability to feel love, not just to give out, but to feel in me. Because I didn't know that, I always had to do for others. And I was just raised that way in a family where I come from a doctor family and you take care of others. Mm-hmm. And being a secretary would be an epic mistake for me, because that's not my personality.
Right.
So I went through the series and I had one of those, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I didn't know I had a body. I didn't know that I could change in my body. I think I mentioned when we first met that my legs, my knees were really turned in, and I was really hunched over, and I was kind of sad and angry, I think, and shut down. And I'd been going to therapy, but the therapy was not opening me up. And I went through this series, and it was this big, like, I have to do this. So I literally called my boss at IBM and said, I quit. And luckily he wouldn't let me. I'd done well there. And he said, you haven't taken vacation in a very long time. Go do this thing, and if you don't like it, just take your vacation. So I went to massage school. Wasn't my thing, but then I got into the structural integration training, different schools, but here in Boulder, both of them. And I trained in Brazil. And so going down there where the body is very, primal and bodies are everything, I started to discover myself. And I remember wearing a bikini, which I'd never done in my life, and starting to relate to this and love this, where I hadn't had that experience.
Maybe move this.
Yeah, move and feel and realize that I have all these parts that I don't even have a relationship with. Mm-hmm. So I went and trained there, and then I came back here, and I was pretty fortunate to be picked up by one of the OGs of the work under Ida Rolf. And it was just his 20th anniversary of his passing over the past weekend. Oh. But he took me in as his student, and I began assisting him in classes. And my body, I kept getting work, I still get work, but it gave me this experience that I'm whole and that I can find happiness in myself. And then I discovered I had a body. Mm-hmm. And then I started to do yoga, and now I pretty actively ride a bicycle. Those people who know me know I ride a bike, and I love it. I've had a whole path of teaching and mentoring, and I come from a different generation than you come from, and so our work is different, but my whole path has been to learn from as many different people as possible and to keep understanding myself and my clients in the work. But it was life-changing, and it made me realize that the body, and the way I was taught, the body is very much, and rolfing is a truth system. So you can find yourself through this work, and it's layered, and it's slow, and it's progressive. And there are these focuses along the way of the 10 steps or 10 series. And it just made sense, and I started to feel better. And then I came in also with very severe chronic headaches since 4th grade, which I just don't have anymore.
Wow.
I came in with other issues physically. My body was pretty shut down. I was insecure in my body, and so I would relate to people. It's hard to believe because you're having a different experience, but I didn't talk much. And I got more comfortable being in this structure and being around other people and sharing and touching and listening. Like you said, listening.
It's a very unique journey into, from what I've heard, into movement, because it sounds like you came in with, having what sounds like mental health issues, or some. It was not necessarily physical, or at least you didn't realize it was physical, right? And then you were recommended to a physical practice that then opened you up to feeling your body and realizing you kind of have control, and that mind and body relationship kicked in, and that's a very, very interesting story. Thank you for sharing that.
I would just say, just closing that story, that I discovered the potency of physiology, and how psychology and physiology meet,
Right.
and that structure and function meet. And also that there's all sorts of types of ways to get into your body. But to me, the key was that we get there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's everything is in the body.
It's all connected.
And we start as nonverbal animals,
Yeah.
and we move as babies, and then something in life prevents, in my case, I came from a family where, my family experienced war. Not my immediate family, but my grandparents. And so you get impacted by that, the generations that come after. And I don't want that to dictate who I am. I want to discover what's the freedom within me, and how can I use that awareness and touch other people with touch,
Yeah.
with presence and words.
And I think this is a good segue to go into what is structural integration, right? So, Nikki, maybe tell us.
Yeah.
You can consider me as someone who practically doesn't know about structural integration, what it really is about. So, how would you describe that to someone?
Structural integration is bringing function into your structure.
Okay.
And everybody's structure is innately different. Yes, hopefully we all can be born with 2 hip bones, but it doesn't mean our 2 hip bones have grown in the exact same way. And so structural integration is bringing the body into optimal alignment to serve better function, to move into the world however that person wants to move into the world. So it could be, I think we're both kind of speaking to the people who come and see us. Some are, especially in Boulder, are very athletic, and their reason to come in here is just to be able to do that race quicker. Yeah. And then there's people who come with us that are like, they're aware of their trauma that they've experienced, and they know that's thwarting how they're presenting in the world, and they want to come and work with that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people it's kind of funny, Rolfing, we have great success with our clients, but we're also often the last resort, possibly because we don't take insurance. Yeah. But so many, talk to any practitioner, I'm sure they've had at least that one person who's come in and is like, I've tried everything, but Rolfing, this is what really worked. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because our training really comes from a place of listen, really be there and be available, because a lot of times people, they realize that what's getting in their way isn't a tissue dysfunction or a structural dysfunction. It is something that they experienced in their life that it could be traumatic. It could be just, there's the big T and little T's of trauma. And that affects how we operate. Mm-hmm. And then you bring that into how modern life has shaped us. Mm-hmm. The shoes that were put on us when we were little. Mm-hmm. Sitting at a desk. We were generous to offer a Movemate to my kids' school. And sometimes with dyslexia comes with the inability to sit still because the brain is trying to be forced into paying attention, and that focus has to have an energy output, and that could be a fidget and a wiggle. Mm-hmm. And this is what is great about Movemate, is you can have the wiggle and not be distracted and still focus. Mm-hmm. So, structural integration, it's unique, it's innate. Yeah.
That's an interesting point in that it is recognizing the differences in the individual, yeah, and then taking a personalized approach for that individual. I think that's really interesting because a lot of what is out there in terms of, when you go online and you look for a solution to a pain that you have in your lower back or whatever, it's always generalized. It's like, this is probably it, and then do this and you'll be good. But clearly by your giggle, I can tell that that's completely opposite to what you guys do, which is to actually listen to the individual, really feel it out, and understand, like you're saying, the other dynamics of trauma and the other elements you wouldn't think affect the body, and trying to unearth that. So if a client comes in, they're coming in for an initial session, do you both go through a similar process?
Well, can I add a piece
yes, for
about
sure.
structural integration,
Yes,
just from
absolutely.
a slightly different lens,
Yeah.
or to add to it? It is a hands-on or a movement-based approach, and there are steps involved. And some practitioners go through a sequence of steps. Some of us do a 10-step, 11-step, 12-step to get the person to understand how they are in their structure. Some practitioners work with movement, but we're looking at a layered approach in the body.
Okay.
And we're looking at...
That's the commonality.
That's the commonality. It's also this tissue called fascia, which has different layers. And there's so much more in the body besides that, but everything is suspended in this type of connective tissue. And so it is used as a medium that we will touch or we will direct a client to explore on their own.
Okay.
And we're looking at this idea that we are upright with being in relationship also with gravity. So where Nikki might start, and she can talk more to it, with awareness and movement, I might start with awareness and touch. And so in the touch process, it is starting from the outside to the inside of these different layers, but asking for movements, looking at different aspects of the body, working with different parts of the body in these different steps. And then once someone has gone through those steps, if you take that approach, and some practitioners don't, it's very diverse, depending on how you are as a human, how you came into the work as a practitioner. You kind of follow what inspires you. And then you follow your clients. I hope at this point clients lead, and it's not just the practitioner saying, oh, you need this. But in my practice, I tend to start on the outside, the skin and the adipose layer, the fat layer, and get that freed up. And then each session has a specific goal and a focus.
So this is manually manipulating different parts of the body, in this case, in this first layer, to get it loosened up and relaxed. And
I will say that the feet, at least I don't want to speak for both of us, but I think I probably can. The legs are really important, and the feet are important and dynamic for the whole structure. And so helping somebody discover their feet, for example, will help the whole body.
Right.
But also, when you said back pain, we all have a different way to think about back pain. And for me, it starts from down here on up. It's not located in a region. Pain ends up here. And so in structural integration, we're trying to uncover the story of this person and what got them to this place where they are not having fluidity and freedom. And then we each do it in a different way.
Okay. And so Nikki, how does your sessions with a client evolve? Is it similar to...
I would say definitely similar. I mean, so now, while I'm very movement influenced in my work, my people who are coming to me for rolfing structural integration, it's a hands-on experience. I give homework. So when whatever we're working with. So again, it depends. Some people, the Rolfing 10 series is when there's different iterations of that from different schools. But basically we can say there's structural integration encompasses 10 to 12 sessions, which is essentially the way we like to talk about it. It's a full body session broken down in parts.
Okay. With
the idea of building from outside in, ground up. And so yeah, I think how each practitioner starts their session, it's really influenced on what jazzes them up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're really looking at this holistic perspective of, yes, you might be coming in with back pain, but is it really in your back, or is it how your feet are organized, or how is your breath? I mean, breath is, my big thing. I'm really into the breath. I'm into everything, but I think I'm really jazzed up about breath.
Okay.
I want people to be able to, and maybe it's because what I see a lot in my office is like this big belly, diaphragmatic breath. It's really great. And I'm like, yeah, that is great. But you have this beautiful, malleable breathing basket that needs to go in all different directions. That needs to get going because that's encasing heart, lung, big part of the spinal cord. Like if this is getting all juicy and able to move, then it's really speaking to the nervous system and you're getting better feedback.
Yeah. There's one other big thing that we haven't said that I think makes us stand out a little more uniquely is that the integration piece.
Yes.
How we put, we
Put
do
it
this
all
work to
together.
kind of take things apart to see, if somebody comes in like this with the shoulder higher, it's not typically the shoulder that's higher. There's something down below. The shoulders sit on top of their ribs. There's a diaphragm here. There's pressure differentials in the body. And so we open things, and then we actually work to make them relate back to each other.
Yeah.
And that integrative piece is, I would say, anyone can demo anything. You can demolish anything. But to rebuild or to begin to give the client this idea that they can move forward in their body, in their life, because things are working together, and go out and move and have their world in front of them, it comes from putting things together. And that's the hardest part.
That's the integration piece.
And I say that as a teacher, that's the hardest thing to teach. It is a really difficult thing to understand. And part of my journey, which I guess we'll get to at some point of getting on the board, is it brought things back into wholeness for me. And it put things together in a way that I was needing when I purchased the board.
I want to ask about the modern life problem, right? So you mentioned it.
That almost knocked me off my board.
That's pretty much all you have to say.
We're sitting is the new cigarette.
Sitting is the new smoking. It's a great tagline for sure. But what are you noticing of the way that modern life is and how it's manifesting in the problems people are having when they come in and what you're noticing and even to the extent of affecting things like body awareness or pain is a common one, of course. But what are you hearing and seeing, and what's your perspective on modern life? How is it actually affecting the body?
Well, from the structural point of view, I'll speak to, I think it's a lot, but the two main is, I think what's so brilliant about this, footwear. So we came, we came into this world, we're crawling, turning on the contralateral movement patterns. We eventually find our feet, we're standing, and then shoes are put on us. And so then our shoes, then we're losing our innate ability to adapt. And now adapt is a big principle in our work. So I can speak from a mechanical point of view of adapting to the earth, that's thwarted right away because of it's not how we were designed, how we evolved. However way you believe that happened, end of the day, the reason why we have a lot of bones in our feet is to be able to take on uneven ground. So we got the shoes, and then we got all these flat surfaces that we're existing on. So I think that's kind of where it starts. And then, we get a couple of our primary years to be play and floppy and to climb on jungle gyms, but then soon we're sitting in chairs in this position. And this position isn't always, I think it's because modern life is we're getting too stuck in a position and we're not having, and I think it's changing hopefully in the school system of realizing that it's not good for our body or our end goals of whether that is getting good grades or making the sales job, that it is too much on the nervous system to sit still, that we're not able to give the output that we need. So, and then if structure isn't happening, then we're gonna get a pain signal, and that pain signal isn't fun to live with, and then it's gonna start messing with how we're just being in our body. So, a big part of, I think, why we get a lot of this psychological relief or revolution is that we're able to down-regulate pain signaling so that they can experience joy. Now, people come in, they're like, well, a lot of times, I think with any therapy, whether it's rolfing, exercise, there's this big idea somehow that we're supposed to be pain-free in our life. I don't set up, that's like, I don't have that ability. What I have the ability to do is get you pain-free in moments of your life. And then when you are experiencing pain, having the tools of knowing what you do, how to handle that for yourself. And that's why I think movement, and that's where I bring in movement, is it can be looked at as corrective exercises, but I think it's more from a somatic point of view, is that I think movement gives you freedom in your body to be your authority and to be your best guide. So when you are going out in your movement classes that excite you up, or you like that community, that you know what to do because it's your body. While you have a great coach and someone that's guiding it, they don't necessarily know what movements are best for you. We all need to maybe adapt a little bit. So, so how is modern life getting in the way of things? A lot.
Yeah.
But that's just the way we're moving. That's how things are. So that's, again, like, I'm not going to tell somebody, well, you're in pain because you sit at a desk, so you need to quit your job. That's not helpful.
Right.
And that's the integration piece, is like, all right, you got to sit at a job, get yourself a Movemate, move around, like break up those long hours that you need to be sitting still.
I think you're talking about choice also.
Yeah.
Like you have a choice, and just patterns that we've seen. You see a lot of people on their phones.
Yep.
And so what happens? They're overusing their thumb, which will transfer up.
Right. Right.
I see a lot of elbow stuff with people who are using their thumbs. So I can't text because I don't use my thumbs. It comes out goofy.
Yeah.
Or their neck. They're looking down.
Yeah. And
this is their new posture of here. They walk around town like this.
Yeah.
I see mothers, which makes me really sad, pushing their baby, looking at their phone. They're not making eye contact with their child.
Yeah.
And so then they're wondering why they feel so distant to the world, but the phone is a real issue. In my generation, people really went from typewriters to desktops to portable computers, and so a lot of this kind of not knowing how to sit in a way that's good for your structure.
Right.
Culture. I've had the I guess luck or privilege to teach in different parts of the world, and so culturally there are different patterns that show up. And so if you look at somebody who may have a more intellectual in their culture, they're going to be they might have more forward posture. Someone who's running more in life, they come out of a culture where they get to play outside. And it's not just culture, it's country of origin, it's culture of habit. Like if you come from a business tech background, you're going to be sitting, and that's the culture of that work.
Right.
If you're a musician, you're going to have patterns. If you're a meditator, you're going to have patterns. If you're a surgeon, you're going to have patterns. And so you start to see these different types of professions and habits and hobbies that create a form in our body. And then what we get to do is help someone realize that. I just remember, this is the story when I trained, there was a guy who was really into Tai Chi. And so he would walk around with his knees bent. And I was pretty young. I'm like, dude, stand up. But he couldn't because he was so into his practice. And I think practice might be a more expansive name for habit or hobby.
Yeah.
That your body gets familiar with a certain way. Even high-end athletes, they have a performance to do, and so their body needs to be a certain way, but they don't recognize that they don't need to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And so we want to help them change that or adapt to other ways for other life situations.
Yeah, there's a big element of variation and variety, and finding a balance. There's no one way of doing something.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's something that we advocate a lot is, when people think about Movemate, sometimes we receive the feedback, it's like, I can't stand on that all day. Like, I'm not going to shift my life to now be on this and we're like, no, that's not what it is. It's just, if you're at a desk 7 hours a day and you're able to break that apart 3 times and be on this and get movement and engage your feet and the sensory input in your feet, or the sensors in your feet, and do that for 30, 40 minutes, 3 times a day, It's about the consistency over time and breaking that pattern, right? Like you talked about footwear, and footwear is why is that bad is because you're spending a lot of time in that structure. So, I would say like having some cushion underneath your feet and in some cases is very useful. But
Absolutely. And that's,
you know,
again, coming back to adaptability, variability,
Yeah.
all that. Like how I got totally turned on with Movemate was coming off of a ski trip, being in stiff ski boots, grateful for those stiff ski boots. But then, coming off, Liz had one. She's like, I brought this in, you got to check it out. And I stepped on it and I'm like, oh my gosh, because of all the innate movement that's happening. And I think it's coming back to like what's structural integration. It's coming back to our innate movement, reminding the people that of when we do these fundamental things of breathing and walking, it creates all this micro movement in our body. And to remember to invite this back on. So when we are in our things that we have to do for long periods of time, there's lots of ways of shaking it up.
Yeah.
Like even with breath, like you're stressed out, you had a super annoying phone call with somebody, and our breath, and this is, I think it's important to come back to also, is the body knows, for the most part, knows how to orient to health. Mm-hmm. And it will do interesting strategies to create safety. And some of those things might be shrugging up the shoulders, coming in, and that's good. We need to honor that because the body needed to do that for whatever reason. But the key part too is with the integration piece is like, okay, when you're done with that stressful moment, is let the shoulder come back to this balancing place that we want to be in, where we can think more clearly. But again, we're like motoring through life and we don't think about that, or there's no invitation to do that, or there's not safety to do that. And so I think, again, why I think rolfing, structural integration, can be so successful is we're giving permission to let go of what someone else told you to do or what you unconsciously modeled, and to come back to how do you want to walk through the world?
Yeah.
Or coming home to yourself.
Or coming home to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's freedom. You were talking about freedom in the practice, but it's freedom in being able to explore, have an open mind. And
because we're all unique.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I do want to go into Movemate a little bit more. But before I do, I have one last question around what happens after the sessions. So someone goes home and they're coming in on a weekly basis. How do you get them to continue that work at home? So obviously, like recommending something like Movemate is something that is helpful, obviously, because they can integrate that seamlessly into their routine, and it's like something that's part of the way they're already working. It's just it really blends in with that. So I could see, recommending tools like the Movemate or whatever other tools. But what else? How do you make sure that they continue that? Because I'm assuming most of the work happens there and not necessarily like in the session. And I recall that from my physiotherapy. When I broke my hip, went through rehab, I was very diligent at first with my at-home exercises and stuff. But once I was weight bearing and I was moving and I could see progress, I really slowed down. Like I would go home, not follow through, come back to my physio. She would be like, have you done this? You're so tight. Are you following through? I'm like, no, it's been busy. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I would lie and say that I did that or whatever. But, for me, it proved to be very tough to continue that work outside of the sessions. And I looked at the sessions as the solution. But I obviously know that that's not the case. Do you guys experience that challenge? How do you get them to keep that on after the session?
You'll get two really different responses.
Let's.
Well, I think they're all going to probably tunnel in the same way, and this is why, again, it's a loaded question you're asking. And so, sure, throw some movement in, do this, you're feeling your hips, feeling, this way, try this exercise. That movements is obviously, I think it's awesome. But then again, it's coming back into empowering people to take ownership of what is right for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So that could then lend to more of a psychological adjustment that they may need to do in their life. Maybe their partnerships, whether it's a business partnership, a household partnership, something might need to be re-examined for them of what is the stressors that are happening to them that's derailing their body a little bit. So it's not one thing, just like that's not one thing that we can prescribe to the body and be like, you do this, this, and this, and this, you're going to have this outcome. Because how people leave, I mean, there's kind of a running joke sometimes when people go through the training, because we all kind of had to learn how to do it. We've all had experience kind of being pulled apart and back together. I mean, that's kind of a little gross analogy of it. But in a way, we're there to learn. So we're not like, well, we have hopefully a lot of us have had great teachers that can hold the container for this kind of coming apart, coming together. Some people come out of the training and being like, this is the partner that I thought I was going to live with for the rest of my life is not the partner I needed that serves me.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and a lot of people come, a lot of older people who come, they're just like, that career was life sucking. This is what I'm going to do. So how they take it out of our office is very unique. And there's not a
How do you
straight
keep
answer.
them accountable? Like, I'm just trying to relate it to my own experience in physio.
Yeah.
Like my physiotherapist struggled to keep me accountable, or the only way she could do it was to ask me after. Like, there was nothing to really help me in that. So let's say that you've had a session and you've recommended that they try this or they learn a little bit about this. They do this homework. I think, Liz, you mentioned the word homework earlier.
That was Nikki.
Was it you?
Yeah.
Okay, Nikki. So that homework, do they stick to it? Is that where a lot of the work actually happens? Like, do you struggle with getting them to stick to it?
Aren't we all human?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we meet them where they're at. Sometimes maybe that particular person could, I mean, we can kind of throw out ideas. Maybe they didn't give you the exercise that inspired you enough to be motivated to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did and you were choosing not to do it. So this is a working relationship. How I keep people accountable is I offer what as best as I can.
Yeah.
But what they do outside of the office, and I share that. I'm like, because they're like, big thing is, while I do a lot of 10 series work, some people, that just feels like a big overtaking. And I'm like, okay, well, we can try one session.
Yeah.
But I'm not a one-hit wonder. Sometimes it happens, but this is an accumulative process.
For sure.
And really what you do with the information that you get here and take that outside the office,
That's really where it's at.
that's where it's at. I got 1 hour with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got the other 23.
Yeah.
I think there's another piece that's really different from the physio world,
Yeah.
is that this work is working to differentiate layers.
Okay.
And when these layers start to move in relationship to each other, I don't give homework. I wouldn't do homework if you asked me to and I was motivated. I would forget. So there's different populations of people.
Yeah.
And you have to also look at who's the client.
Yeah.
But the work itself, I think movement is the key, whether it's the movement of, oh, my relationship changed, or, oh, I don't want to, when I sit in meditation and I lock my neck, I have an option.
Yeah.
I can do it. Something moves.
Yeah.
So it will be a physical movement. It could be homework. If someone says, I want homework, I'm going to give them something. But you leave and you move your body and the tissue starts to adapt to the other parts of the body. And I think that's why I like this.
Yeah. Good segue.
Yeah.
Okay. So good segue to this. So you learned about Movemate
Yes.
first.
Yes.
How did you learn about it?
Well-
And what was the thing that drew you to it in the first place?
Yeah. So what was driving me, and I think in addition to being a structural integrator, is I also supervise and mentor practitioners as well as coaches who sit.
Okay.
And so there I am. I'm used to being around on the table and working, and I'm sitting more. So that I kind of have had that, and I'm trying to find different tools. And then I had a cancer scare, and there's ovarian cancer in my family. So I ended up having a hysterectomy. And I came out of that with my doctor. I had a great experience. That's one thing I can say about Ann Schutz, the Denver University of Colorado. I came out, I didn't have to take any meds. The way they worked with me, the way they worked with my mind, neuroplasticity, the surgery itself, the feeling. I wasn't taking drugs. Now some people would. I was just, I think, fortunate. And they said, oh, there's not much between your pelvic floor, your guts, and the floor. So you have to do things. You have to move. That's the main thing that will help you with discomfort also. And I was going to be home for 6 weeks and not work. And that's kind of hard for me because I love what I do. It's not work. It's just what I love, and I get to be with people. And so I got onto, I started looking up what could I do to have a standing desk.
Okay.
And I started to look at desks, and I realized, well, I don't want to pay money for a standing desk.
Right.
I want to do something different because the desk isn't going to help me.
Right.
I need something for me. So I started to look at pads.
Okay.
And then I just randomly came across a YouTube video of you.
Okay.
And a woman.
Yes.
And I watched that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to buy that thing.
Right.
And so I bought it, and it shows up, and I get on it. And at this point, it wasn't a week out of surgery. It was several weeks where I felt weak. I didn't feel strong. I'm used to cycling. I'm used to hiking,
Yeah.
walking. I have a dog. You know, I am active at this point in my life where I wasn't much younger. And I got on this, and I started to feel tone in my pelvic floor. And I started to have a physiological change, which is why I think it's good for all aged people. Because one of the things that happens in our culture is that our pelvic floor is from sitting all day long. You lose tone.
Yeah.
And so I started to feel support from my feet coming up through me. And I was, kind of walking around like this, and I started to have, I'm breathing, and I feel my diaphragm. And
So while you're on...
I'm just getting on it now. I was like a 5-minute on it.
Sure, yeah.
Because I was also, I don't really know. I don't know you. I'm not someone that buys things online.
Right.
But it was so cool, especially how you were zigzagging around the room. And I like to ride a bike fast for me. I'm not like a boulder cyclist. I'm just like a regular cyclist.
You're a New York cyclist.
I would love to be.
Move at a different speed.
It's a different speed, but no, Boulder's super fast and hard.
Okay.
I'm just like I commute on a bike.
Okay.
So I commute about 26 miles a day, which sounds like a lot, but it's a lot of straight. And so here I am, and I'm using this, but I'm nervous because I'm post-surgical.
Yeah.
And my doctor has said no activity, nothing. And so I just thought, well, I'm not going to tell him. I'm just going to go back after I've tried this. But I started to feel good literally from 5 minutes a day. And I think that there are people, like I said, get on this, but I had a client coming.
Were you using it just just as on its own?
On its own.
Just moving around?
So what I did was I followed, like what I took as your instruction, go sideways, I did that.
You watched the how-to video?
I watched the whole thing because I was home and I was totally bored.
Yeah, fair enough. That's the right thing to do, by the way. Anyone listening, you guys need to watch the video.
It works, and I am not one of those people that wants to do something.
We have new
like that.
videos, in fact. We just shot new videos. But
so I started to do side to side.
Yeah.
Then I think I'll go out to this, and what happened was, to me, the integrative part, which I'm very passionate about. That's the thing I like to teach. I'm not the technique teacher, I'm the integrative teacher. I got off, and I'm like, whoa, I don't want to sit. So then I went home, and I have a table that looks like a massage table, but it's low, and I stacked up a chair, and I put my computer on that, And I put this down and I started to call friends on Zoom and on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I just stood there and I would limit it to like 5-10 minutes on this, and then I would step off. And then I started to think, oh, you also talked about moving closer in. I feel really good when I come closer. Oh, now I feel really long and I can breathe. And so I would see if anyone could tell that I was moving. And I thought, oh, I can use this for work.
Yeah.
And then when I came back to work, I literally had my clients start their session getting on for just to see where they were at the beginning. I like to do, how is it before, how is it after?
Okay.
Have their session, and now what's different about the board, and now what's different in your feet and when you walk.
Okay.
Because I had that personal experience. And for me, I've really used it for me.
Yeah.
I'm slowly, now that I'm back at work more full-time, now I'm more interested in getting, doing stuff with my clients. But I'll share one other thing. We use our hands. So I've been going into like a downward dog pose, and I put my hands on it, and I play with my elbows, and I keep my knees bent so I'm really well supported in me.
Yeah.
And I just move my hands.
Interesting.
And sometimes I'll reverse it, and it's really helped my upper body because I know I have good legs, they're strong, but my upper body is not as strong, even though my arms are.
Yeah, so just some mobility work.
And then my back started to open. And I started to have more, movement up top because I tend towards more of a kyphotic curve up top. And I started to have, I'm breathing and my lungs, I could feel, space up here. And I started, it's a goofy word, but I started to feel regal. Like, I've come back. I'm not this broken woman who's lost her parts.
Wow.
And it was life-changing for me. It's like emotional for me because I don't feel my age. And to go through this procedure, and then I went back to the doctor and they were like, what do you mean? This is, what's happened?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And, I was with an oncological surgeon and just, I've done these things. And he's like, this is fantastic. So to hear that, the feedback from the surgeon, and to say, I waited enough weeks, but I had to do something. This seemed like the most benign thing I could do, but it was incredibly powerful.
Wow. And then that's amazing.
So then I saw Nikki one day. I come back to work and I'm like, get on this thing. She was like, my legs are hurting. And so you were on it, for 2 minutes?
Not even, because like she said, like we're great friends, but our interaction can be like a lot of passing in the wind because she's going to the clients, I'm coming to the clients. And I got on it and I was like, came from my ski trip, kind of like, get back into work, stepped on it. And it was like, it just took care of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I immediately emailed you.
Okay.
And bought 4.
Yeah.
And so, and I mean,
how would you describe the first time that you felt it? So you were blown away by it, but what was that? If you could tell me a little bit more about what you felt and why it clicked so immediately and so profoundly.
Because I think a lot of what Liz has already shared of kind of just speaking of like the buildup. So I like tools. Yeah. So I've stepped on dozens of balance boards. I've invested in a ton and gotten rid of a bunch. So me stepping on one of these wasn't new. It was kind of like my body knows what to look for.
Yeah.
What I feel is so innovative of yours is these individual slats and how they can independently move. And what I felt like is kind of like a Rolfers touch of being able to really get into my feet in a very micro effective way.
Yeah.
And so, so like I threw off, and it was even winter, threw off my boots, got on it a little bit, and then walked into here, and I'm like, it was just that immediate wake up of being able to feel all the articulation of from a calcaneus midfoot to toe and it's great. And
Yeah.
so I was immediately sold. My
Yeah.
feet felt like butter, and I mean we could totally dork out
Yeah.
on that because like we both like the way the feet meet the ankle into the legs.
Yeah.
I mean I'm feeling my inner osseous
Yeah.
really livened up.
Yeah.
So, and I know we've been talking for a while. So anyway, it's just a really full body experience in such a small
amount
of time.
Yeah.
And I've done similar too, where had clients get on it, and I have some movement people who come in who have really rigid kind of block-like feet. And they'll get on it, and they're used to me kind of rigging them up and doing things. And they're like, oh, what are you doing, Nikki? And I'm like, and they'll get on it. And because they don't have that awareness of the capacity of their feet, they are kind of standing on it a little block-like. And it's kind of fun to watch them
They're a
kind
bit
of
rigid.
Yeah.
totally rigid. And I'm like, push your toe down. I did not watch the video, sorry. Just kind of went with it. So I had them start, I was like, hey, start to feel, just invite the movement. It might feel different for you. You might feel weird. You might not like it right away, but just be open to it. Mm-hmm. And so they're in it, and I can tell, like, they're getting kind of frustrated, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
what's next, Nikki, da, da, da. And they'll get off, and they're like, oh, they like found out that they have a foot that moves, and so I've had a lot of people, I don't know if they've actually bought it yet. There's still a lot of conversations around it. But one woman that I know got one, done a lot of work with her, and she has found it really impactful. She's an older woman, had a lot of things, big T, little T's of emotional trauma, physical trauma. She was now at an opportunity. She had an adult child who, for various reasons, had to be home longer than normal. And she finally was able to felt safe for her to go on a vacation. And she wanted to go to Paris. But there was a lot of nervous energy around that of walking with the cobblestones and this and that. And so we did a lot of work with her to build up strength. And I would throw things on the ground and just kind of mimic like uneven surface. And then I got this about 3 weeks before she went on her trip. And I was just like, this is it.
Yeah.
Because what I love about this, especially when I was holding the application for my client who's going to be walking on, European streets and things like that, is to be able to feel the weight drop into, I'll just say the lateral aspect of the foot, to feel into this integrity that you can be on your lateral aspect of your foot, be offset and not roll your ankle or sprain yourself. Mm-hmm. But I think some people, as we're aging, when they start feeling themselves tipping, there's like this give up and they just like go for it. Because there's no this in-between awareness of the capacity of their feet. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a super cool, brilliant system, and it's good looking, which matters.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have one at my home, and I do care about my interior design.
Yeah.
And so I have one in our family room, and
yeah,
it just lives there. And my kids both have really high arches that they've inherited from their father, and they complain a little bit about some ankle stuff. And what I love about this, it's not a heavy intervention, because I'm like, well, you're an active kid. Is this growing pains? I think this is too, like, as a structure integrator, is like really knowing when the appropriate time to put in input, or when to just like let the body do its thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this, is it's an invitation to open up, but it's not this like, it's an invitation. You can do what you want with it.
Well, one last thing. I love the foot, and to talk about the foot, and how it's very much a bag of bones.
Yeah.
And these remind me of toes.
Super complex structure.
It is, yeah. And I think with the foot and rolfing in general, we're creating space.
Yeah.
And you get on this, and toes have joints.
Yeah.
And there's a toe hinge that you can play with, and the lateral aspect of the foot, I think, is a profound thing to understand, because those last two toes go to the calcaneus. The first three toes go to the bone on top of the calcaneus.
Yeah.
And you get that talar glide.
Yeah.
And you get lift from that lateral. And people are afraid to a lot of people collapse in, a lot of people, they supinate or they pronate,
Yeah.
and suddenly they get to have space, and then they get off
Yeah.
the Movemate, and they're like, whoa, my feet feel happy, or spacious, or I feel calm.
Yeah,
My
interesting.
voice has changed.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm sleeping. I could say I sleep better when I get on this.
Wow.
If I do, and I think you said 30 minutes earlier. I ride a bike at home. It's like the most boring thing ever to sit on a stationary bike.
Yeah.
And doing something for 30 minutes can be boring. But if you do it for 5 minutes and you work up,
Yeah.
you start to realize how a little bit, less is more sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes more is more, depending on when you need it.
Yeah.
And I've learned now that, how long have we been on this? And
We've
I
been
feel pretty
on
darn
for,
great.
I don't know, 35, 40
Yeah.
minutes?
An hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
An hour and 5
Yeah.
minutes?
That's what it's recording. Probably
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Wow.
So,
That's incredible.
Yeah.
and so I get on at least once a day for 5 minutes. And then I do at least one session, a Zoom call,
Yeah.
which is typically an hour.
Yeah.
And it's really giving me vitality, honestly. And unlike Nikki, I have no toys.
Right.
I don't have gadgets, I don't have props. I have my hands, and then this is like I told you I want to take this overseas with me
Yeah.
and have it for my students, but also have it for me,
Yeah.
because I'll stand all day and teach.
Yeah.
She's
Wow.
kind of fibbing a little bit. She has a melt method foam roller.
Oh, I do. I have a foam roller.
And the first time, so we
And a
really
chair.
connected is I came to see her. I had heard of her. Like we had talked about going from different schools. And I'm like, I keep on hearing about this woman, Liz Stewart. I want to meet her. So I came to see her when I was pregnant. And what I loved about her, well, she's the real deal New York City woman. I used to live in New York City for 8 years, and it really works for me.
Yeah.
But two straight shooters
Yeah.
meeting with each other, and she was like, you know what, this isn't a good time for you to receive work, so let's do these things. And we did some fun things with the foam roller and worked on opening up my hips and things like that.
Yeah, it's just as we wrap, thank you both for sharing that. And you don't understand how Ali's behind the camera there. And as the designer of this product and obviously as the tag team bringing this to the market, we couldn't have imagined the impact that this would have.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to just speak to the both of you today and you sharing, yeah, you deserve the high five, that's for sure. And you sharing your experience with it and just to learn the impact that it's had is just so fulfilling. I guess we'll end off, and I just want to say thank you for having us both here, and thank you for sharing your insights. And we can't wait to continue to work together to help other people. The first time I stood on this was a prototype, December 2020. And there was a prototype that was sitting in Ali's living room. And I stood on for about 40 minutes and my mind was blown.
Yeah.
And I took it to work because I was rehabbing my hip injury at the time. And sitting was absolutely killing me. And 4 months in, I was so in love with this product that I ended up quitting my job and we said, this has to get out.
Yeah.
And now
Sound like a
fast
structural
forward.
integrator.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. And now fast forward, here we are today. It's 2025. It's 5 years on, right? And you purchased this because of, a difficult situation you were in. Like I was in a difficult situation. And then you introduced it to Nikki. And now we're all here having this conversation. And the guy who created it is behind the mic and behind the camera. So thank you guys.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been
Thanks for coming here.
it's been awesome.